Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Friday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and we are in for a treat tonight as your favorite guest and mine, our Keith Andrews, and the ET Connection gets going here as my hair looks terrible. Hold on. There we go. I've been wearing a hat all day, and I just forgot to put it back on. All right, let us say hello to each and every one of you, including Kitty Cattywhack in the gold medal position. Race fan with a silver, T-Bone taking home a bronze medal tonight. Let's get the roll call started with Mel WD-40 being here. Mel is currently lubing up our Keith Andrews sideburns to get him ready for this show. Thank you, Mel, for the duties. We appreciate that. Don't forget to give yourself a shot too, okay? All right, we have Road Flare. We have Robert Lamoth and Race Fan. How you doing? Little Cam over on YouTube, so excited about our Keith Andrews. He did 76 pork chop pulls in 25 seconds. Good job, Little Cam. Good job. Michael Morris, attorney at large. How are you? Thunderhead, nice to see you. Necessary Dialogue. Y2K, it's been a while. Good to have you back. Hi there, Paula Fost. How are you? As we continue on with our roll call. T-Bone, my man, what's happening? Luscious Jules has returned. Luscious Jules will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. We scroll on down, and up next we have, let's see here, Carol Amario, nice to have you here. Forrest Louie, how you doing, my friend? Nice to see you. As we scroll on down, and we scroll down some more to say hi to Crystal Cat. Thank you for coming on in. Deanna Ann, looking lovely tonight. Yep, she's ready for tonight's show. She's even teased her hair a little bit. Moving on down. Oh, my God. I kill myself sometimes. All right, moving on down. We have let's see here. Who's next? Who's next? Huh? Who's next? It's Operation Shutdown, everybody. All right, moving on down. Hold on, I got an itchy ear. Amy Allo, how are you tonight? And Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. And Frankie B, how are you tonight? Nice to see you. Undead Jed and Algaray over on Twitch. 350 mutton chop curls in 4 minutes. That's impressive. That is impressive, my man. Oh. Walter Koczybinski, how are you? As we continue on with our roll call, Amy Vegas O is here. Amy Vegas O will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. And just in case, okay, for $5 more for that Amy autograph, she'll let you fold her laundry. She will let you fold her laundry for $5 more and an autograph. I don't know where she comes up with these great deals, but she does. She's amazing. Number 37 in your program tonight, starting in goal from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Road Flare, how are you? And who else do we have? We have East Coast Turnaround on X. How you doing, my friend? Scrolling on down, we have lots of people here. Aussie Tiger, how you doing? Digger Dog, how are you? Jerence Carter. Shane Gord, how you doing, my friend? Thank you for coming on in. Ghostly Hunter on Facebook, good to have you here. As we continue on with our roll call, I'm Hardcore on X, nice to see you. And the Ferret, always a pleasure. Philip Miller, good to have you here as well. Stargazer, thanks for coming on in. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection coming on up. We're just finishing off roll call on our YouTube side as we say hello to Jessica S. And what in tarnation? How are you tonight? And yes, see, Deanna Ann did get her hair teased right there. See, I told you. Sweet Donna C., how are you tonight? Nice to see you. As we scroll on down and say hi to Paul Demon, as well as we say hello to Erica Stover. As well, we say hello to, well, T-Bone for another great super chat. Thank you, T-Bone. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag. And throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears to what's that we have in the nose. We're together, friends. Oh. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. Get your tickets for Caribou Con 2026, September 18th through 20th at cariboucon.com. We have an amazing night tonight, filled with woo, filled with curiosity. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection gets going here momentarily. In hour number 3, we'll kick things off with Swamp Dweller. Then Lee Strauss, the extra small one, will be here for the Q&A. All right. This is one of our most popular guests the last decade. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. It happens each and every time at this time of the month. The reason why we bring Keith on is because he is a lifelong experiencer. He's not in the UFO world. He doesn't follow the UFO politics or anything that's going on. He doesn't need to. He knows his job is to help people and consult people who are having their own contact that they may or may not understand. Keith is somebody who has been a lifelong experiencer of the unknown. It's not a life he chose, but it was the life that he was given. And we're always glad to have Keith on Spaced Out Radio to answer your questions each and every time. Our Keith Andrews from the ET Connection. It's great to have you back on the show. How you doing, my friend?
Not bad at all. A little on the tired side, but really happy to be here.
We're always glad when you are here, buddy. It's always an entertaining night. And, you know, one of the topics I want to get into with you tonight is hybridization. And the reason why I want to get into this is because former congressman in the United States, Matt Gaetz, went on the Benny Johnson podcast, and he was telling a story, Keith, that absolutely blew my mind. Now, I'm familiar with the alien hybridization program. I've talked to enough people who have been abducted who claim to be a part of this. And so alien hybridization, for people who may not know, is when the aliens take you, and for women, they'll operate on you and take your eggs from your ovaries. For men, that's usually where the whole term anal probing came in. They try and massage the prostate to get the sperm out in order to grab the male sperm. So it's not a very comfortable process for those who have been through it, but many people claim that this has happened to them. Well, to our amazement, Matt Gaetz said there's up to 14 bases allegedly, Keith, where the American military, and he was told this by a military person in the United States Army who is still in service. He said that the Americans have captured aliens and are kidnapping people from third world countries, from war zones, and taking them into these bases where they are forcing the aliens to hybridize with the humans. This has been truly, truly shocking news, Keith. What do you think about this?
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to put this politely without actually getting you in trouble. Me, I get in trouble anyway. Number one, that kind of report doesn't surprise me. I certainly can't quantify the 14 bases, but it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, the numbers are not surprising. As far as the human treatment of off-worlders, it's been going on since it started, since they first made contact, and it's not just with one species. The problem is that the reticulans, who you know as the Greys, they are the ones that perfected the hybridization program for them. But it was the reason they built it. With humans, they seem to be going after hybridization to see if they can build a better weapon. That was not the purpose of the off-world hybridization program. You know, the hybridization program itself is designed to literally grow cultural interpreters. Okay, they're not interested in conquest, which is a good thing, you know, when you think about it. But when you consider the number of reports that are around and the technology I know exists, having 14 bases, I would lay odds, is an understatement. And the other part that they don't tell you is that the same thing is going on in every major country. That's the word I was looking for. Even if you think back to when people said that Hitler was in contact with off-worlders, he was. But what they didn't tell you is that so was every other major country. But none of them were getting weapons, and the hybridization was mankind's idea that, hey, if we combine these, we can have a better warrior. Which didn't necessarily work out the way they were hoping, because humans are way more aggressive than most of the off-world races. But I'm certainly not going to say it's not happening. Let's face it, as you pointed out, I don't follow these people at all.
I think the thing that surprised me, Keith, is the fact that in this alleged story, and we have to call it alleged because we don't know if it's fully true or not. We're taking this as secondhand information from a former congressperson. Okay, but if this story is true, I guess what blows my mind is I was always prepared for aliens doing this themselves. I was not prepared to find out that allegedly this is happening where the Army captured aliens and is forcing them into this. And then once again, if this story is true, kidnapping people from third world countries or war zones or the desolate and the destitute and making them vanish, that's illegal too. And that's scary right off the bat there as well, my friend.
I agree with you. Unfortunately, humans across the world for time almost immemorial, have been kidnapping people from lesser cultures. Okay, from an off-world standpoint, humans are doing it to the lesser life forms as well, i.e. fish, birds, tigers, you get the picture. Nobody asks these guys if they want to be abducted. But humans, they do this to people. And I use the term people covering everything from plants to non-corporeals. Okay, but humans do this to other people and complain when it happens to them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not overly fond of being kidnapped either. I started off that way. And that was no fun.
Okay, so my question is, like, this goes down so many rabbit holes, this story, Keith, and I promise we will get to audience questions here momentarily. But if it is true, I think we need to know what's happening with these people. I mean, like, when they are done with the hybridization program, if they are done ever, what do they do with them? I don't even want to think about that, Keith, because that's how scary it is.
Well, I guess I shouldn't give you an answer to that, eh?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious what the answer would be, but it's still scary nonetheless.
Oh, I will not argue that point. Contemplating the horrific things he said that humans will do to get ahead is absolutely insane. But to put it in perspective, I don't know how you put that in perspective. On the hybridization program, it's a simple issue from human standpoint. When you're done, and this is a big difference, with the human side, when you're done with the hybridization testing or whatever you're up to, eliminate the witness. Therefore, they can't talk. With an off-worlder, once you're done with the hybridization program, pick up the person, give them a mind overlay, and put them back in their home as close to normal, as close to original as you can get. Now, mistakes get made. Okay, they really do. But it's usually quite by accident. But the reason for the overlay in the hybridization program, in other words, people quite often report seeing either a dolphin or a deer or an owl because of the eye configuration. It's a mental overlay. The idea is to give humans something to focus on that is a little more terrestrial in base to help them get back to their normal life with as little disruption as they can get away with. Okay, they don't tell anybody, they just bury it so humans can function.
Well, it's something that I hope there's a lot of follow-up on, because if there is, I mean, that's just a horrible, horrible scenario for any type of accusation, especially for crossbreeding with aliens. I mean, as sci-fi and as weird and Hollywood as that sounds, we know from people who've experienced it that the aliens are taking us for hybridization programs. But to know that it is being done here and on purpose, that's a whole different ballgame. Keith, let's get some audience questions going here. Let's start things off with Y2K here, who's asking, Keith, do you think the aliens will reveal themselves when Artemis 2's mission flies by the dark side of the moon in 2 days?
I wouldn't hold my breath on it. 15, 20 years ago, 62% of Americans already accepted that aliens were here. And if they reveal themselves, understand, off-worlders are not interested. As a matter of fact, they're forbidden from absolutely disrupting a culture. If they were to turn around and reveal themselves, all of society would buckle. And I'll tell you why. It is one thing to believe that aliens are here. It's another to actually have no irrefutable way around it. Okay. and people's faith in whatever religion they're following, whatever government they're listening to, or whatever friends they're listening to, all of a sudden collapses. Now, I can tell you all kinds of scenarios of what comes out of that. But let's just say if they do that, you can bet your entire civilization globally goes into a tailspin. Not exactly the nicest thing to think about.
No, not really. Not really at all, but I am a firm believer, though, Keith, that the UFOs and aliens have followed almost every rocket that we've sent up, if not all of them. And
Absolutely.
I believe the reason why they do that is out of their own curiosity to see how far we've gotten. Like, I just find it very intriguing, that NASA has held it back for so long.
Well, if you think about NASA holding it back, think what would happen if NASA all of a sudden came out and categorically went, yeah, they're here. Can you picture the bedlam that would happen? Okay, if all of a sudden a major government organization were to say, hey, we've been lying to you for 60 years now, but we really have alien contact. Virtually everybody that I know of looks at the government and goes, you're lying to us, you're covering things up, etc., etc. But that's a civilization game changer.
Well,
but the neat part about it, when you mentioned the rockets being watched, the aliens do way more than watch them. They replicate them, so they can pull them apart and analyze them. And I do mean replicate as in, essentially they take a photocopy while the rocket is going by, reconfigure, reconstitute the physical organism in order to pull it apart and see what mankind's done. And yes, very much it's a question of their own curiosity. But you got to remember, off-worlders on the whole are afraid of humans. Okay, they're not interested in conquering mankind or conquering Earth, but they are afraid of what humans can do. Funny part is, humans don't realize what they're capable of.
Well, you know what? It is something, my friend, that I think that curiosity is going to continue for a long, long time, because until they make themselves known here or disclosure actually happens, they're going to be in the mind of curiosity. I mean, they're probably, quite scientific, just like you and I are. I mean, where do we go when we want to see things? Well, we have the ability now of the internet, because most of us can't afford to travel anymore. But prior to that, if we wanted to see what Disneyland was like, we went to Disneyland. If we wanted to see the pyramids in Egypt, we went to them. If we wanted to see the Great Barrier Reef, we traveled to Australia. So we had the ability to do that and see that. And I could see them being just the same.
And absolutely. And, just to throw into the mix a little bit of a hiccup. If you look at reports, and once in a while I get them, right? Apparently, and I found this out a good 25 years ago, at that time, every time Mars got to its closest point to Earth, the sightings of UFOs would triple. Okay. And they always said, I don't know, we don't know why. Then I got looking at it. I can tell you exactly why it tripled. See, Mars, we call it Mars. They call it Martok. Okay. And every time it comes to its closest point, the Martokians send literally, and you're going to love this one, they literally send classes out to observe the socioeconomic evolution of the human genome in real time. So they literally, it's what they call a field trip.
I could see that happening. I could totally see that happening. Why wouldn't it?
There's very little difference between the off-worlders and humans, aside from their toys. And quite frankly, some of the mentalities are a little bit twisted.
Let's get to another question as we got about 4 minutes to go before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues here on Spaced Out Radio. T-Bone's question up next. How many types of grays are you up to now, Keith?
I think I'm sitting at 15 right now. I'm actually in the process of putting all of that in one book on its own. Like I've got a whole cluster of books called Meet the Whatever. But I will tell you, I've only had the last 4 years. It's been severe depression on my part. I'm finally back to writing properly. And yes, before you ask, I have every intention on having the newest version of Races of the World with me when I get up there.
Well, that's good. That's good. Talk about some of these ET grays. What are the? You said you're up to 15 different species. What's some of the differences?
Well, for instance, when you look at the reticulans themselves, at what you know as the grays, the ones that most people know of are true scientists. Okay, they get broken into classes. Now you've got the reticulan D, which are your controllers, but that's a whole different species. If you look at Close Encounters of the Third Kind, when they show all the little short grays and that one tall one in the back, the tall one is a controller. The other ones, the majority of the reticulans are scientists, but you've got ones that are dedicated to agriculture, ones dedicated to art, to military. I wish I had a heads up on that side of it, because I've got a whole list of them here. But you've got some that are botanists, some that are literally, they deal with the aquatic side of life, and of course, then you got the ones that are specializing in the different elementals. You'll find now they all have the same concept, in as much as huge eyes. Most of them are around the 3 foot mark. Okay. They're around the 3, maybe 3.5 foot mark, except the controllers. They sit close to the 5. But when you take a look at some of them, there's one group, and when we go to commercial, I'm going to see if I can pull up. And I'm going to see if I can pull up the actual list of them. But you got to remember, humans can classify species and classify races by skin color. These guys do it by skeletal configuration.
Yeah, that's just scary. I mean, I've seen grays, in write-ups with big eyes, small eyes, big foreheads, smaller foreheads, chins, no chins, very bony facial features, very smooth facial features. I mean, it really goes to show that there are different species of this.
Oh, yeah. But they have some very definitive guidelines to work with.
What do you mean by that?
The grays have this little issue. They are not allowed to directly, no species is allowed to directly impact the political field on Earth or any major corporation. They cannot land in CEO positions. They do not replace presidents, this sort of thing. It's absolutely forbidden. And just to give an idea of the...
Well, hold that thought, Keith. Hold that thought, because we're gonna go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. all about the alien races. We'll continue with the Greys right after this. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. Hi, Free Your Mind. How are you? Don't forget to put your questions in capital letters, guys, so that way it's easier for me to find them and to store them and put them in order. Michael James Walker over on Facebook. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you again. Come join us on YouTube. There's a lot more people here. Bobby. How you doing? Double Bobby. Double Bobbert. Yes, T-Bone, they are going to be amazed by our toilets. Keith, your sideburns look great tonight. Hold on, let me unmute you.
Hide them.
There you go. Corey Cole, how you doing, Boondock? Yeah, sorry, Keith. Yeah, your sideburns look beautiful tonight.
I appreciate that. I was thinking of trying to figure out how to fertilize them and decided that wasn't a good idea. By the way, I found the list.
Oh, did you? Oh, cool.
Yeah, I knew where I was. I just had to take a moment out and hope my computer didn't crash.
Very cool. Got about 2.5 minutes, Keith.
Not a problem.
Two minutes.
I'll get out.
Scoose, how you doing tonight? Joshua, nice to see you. Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. Jay Truth, what's happening? I haven't watched the Bob Lazar thing. Don't say anything about it. I want to watch it this weekend. There's Mike Walker at YouTube. How you doing, buddy? Glad you're here. Don't forget to get your questions in capital letters to Keith. We'd appreciate it. Thank you tonight to T-Bone and Little Cam for the super chats. The super chats are the wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Thank you, J Truth. You can get your tickets for Caribou Con 2026. Our Keith Andrews will be there. Yeah, we're going to have a good time with him and many others like Merle, Samantha Mowat, and so many others. Go to cariboucon.com to get your tickets today. Gear Jammers Garage, welcome to SOR Chat. How you doing tonight? Jamie Alanis, how are you tonight? Thank you. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for joining us. Our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues here momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, our Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continuing right now. Keith, we were talking about the alien gray species, and you wanted to find some information during the break, and you found that.
I did. You were asking how many. Right, I don't have them all broken down 100% yet, but you've got your beta reticulans, which are the teachers. They're the ones that actually do the educating side of things, obviously. But the beta Ds are your professors. They're your higher educated ones. Klingossen are your strategists. They're the ones that take a look at city layouts, that sort of thing. Right. When you look at the data reticulans, these are the builders. They're the people that put it all together. The ones you got to worry about, though, are Zethus Kluk. Because the Zethus Kluk are the military. They are the ones that design the weapons that are utilized to do such neat little things as turn a planet inside out. And, of course, this is the one that many of the people that have talked about people being abducted and put in zoos. It would be these guys, the Prolnokan, who are the ones that actually look at finding different species to put in a zoo. And it does happen. Just like it happens here on Earth, they just have a bigger scale. You know, so I mean, but when you take a look, where are we here? Now you've seen the reticulans with the square, really bony ridges on their skulls.
Yes.
Those are where am I here? There we are. That's your rated reticulans. Okay, they are the agricultural specialists. Okay, they're also the ones that are there to take off-world plants and rearrange them and organize things so they can grow in a new environment. Much like what the Zeta Reticulans do with the hybridization program. The Reta Reticulans are the ones that literally are targeting hybridization of various plants. And yeah, that can result in some bizarre outcomes. I mean, we got peach trees, right? They got peach trees that'll eat you. Kind of a swap off.
Well, that's nice. Peach trees that will eat you.
Well, you got to feed them somehow. We give them other stuff to fertilize them.
Like giant penis fly traps.
Oh, you got those too, but those are big enough to eat people. You know, the home of the reticulans is it's a war zone in the forest. Up here in Canada there, Dave, we got wolverines, we've got grizzly bears. Well, picture, if you will, an oak tree that will beat the living daylights out of you just because you picked the brown leaf off it.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah. But no,
I don't even want to think about that.
I love the movies that show humans fighting off aliens. They make for a great science fiction movie. Unfortunately, the reality is a whole lot less inviting.
All right. Well, let's go to another question here, Keith. All right. And let us go to Donna here. Sweet Donna C is asking, would ETs target people in the hybrid program over multiple generations? And if so, why?
And number one, the answer is yes. And the why is because humans are, on the whole, they are still a nomadic race. Okay, I mean, you wouldn't think so with us living in cities, but we really are still nomadic. So when you're looking at the generational hybridization, what you're looking at is what did they do with the hybridization in the first place, and how has the change in environment and their change in locale affected the hybridizing of it.
Okay.
It boils down to genetic evolution.
I never thought about it that way. So let's just say you are a first generation contactee.
Right.
Okay. Nobody in your family's ever been taken that you know of. Do they automatically start the lineage check after that?
No. What they like, sometimes it depends on who does the taking and why they did it in the first place. Okay. Sometimes they'll follow, sometimes it's just that one person out of the entire lineage, and nobody else ever gets touched again. That can come about if what they find when they do the genetic assessment, if they find something that is already marked as a detonation point. In other words, you go down the road a few generations, that recessive gene all of a sudden turns out to be a basket case. Okay, and I do mean that I am using that term in the same fashion that they used to use, that humans used it during the Vietnam War and the Korean War. I think it was Vietnam War when they used that term. But there are certain genetic markers that the off-worlders see that several generations down the road may lead to the implosion of that birth line, of that bloodline. Kind of like we spot Alzheimer's, they spot complete systemic collapse.
Okay. Let's move on, Keith. Let's go to T-Bone. Keith, hearing more and more about these hooded figures with glowing eyes. Have you heard of this?
Yeah, they're the ones. They are the Watchers. Now, somewhere in my notes, and I don't know right offhand, and it'd take too long, but I've got an actual name for you. But what they do, these guys, number one, they don't walk. They only float. You'll never see their feet on the ground. Even when they stop moving, they sit there and hover a good 6 to 8 inches off the ground. And all they are doing is recording what's going on. They pass on information directly to the Zerziks. Okay, but they have a strict guideline. They are not permitted to interfere. They can absolutely come into your room and see whatever you're up to, but they cannot do anything in the way of direct interaction. All they can do is stand there and watch, which in all fairness, can be really disconcerting. At least in my eyes, it can be. I don't know, maybe some people like being watched, but I'm not one of them.
Anunnaki do it too.
Do which? Watch?
Use cloaks and glowing eyes.
Well, they do, but they don't have much choice. I mean, let's face it. The Anunnaki, the smallest adults, when they hit puberty, the Anunnaki are 15 feet tall. Okay. Anything shorter than 15 feet, you're looking at a teenager or younger.
Yes. Yes. I know that all too well. All too well, my friend. All right, let's go to another question. Let's go to Boondock here, who is asking, are the Greys demons?
No. How's that for just cut and dried? No, you've got, first of all, the Greys on the whole are scientists, the ones that people see here. The majority of them are scientists, period. But you got to remember, they are pure science for the most part. Roughly 50-60% of the standard Greys, what they do is they come in, they are abducting people, certainly. They call it sampling. Okay. And they work towards understanding the human genome. You got about 25% that are benefactors. In other words, they're the ones that will step in and, oh, somebody's been hurt. Okay, let's see what we can do about putting them back together. And then you got the other end of the scale, where there is a chunk of them that will literally sell their findings to the highest bidder. Okay, for whatever reason they've got. Just like humans, the majority are nice. You get some that are good and some that are bad. But the majority sit somewhere in the middle. But they are definitively not demons. First and foremost, demons, as in what people talk about on the whole, are a construct of the different religions. Used to basically scare the didn't quite say that. Used to basically scare the daylights out of whoever's listening to them. Daemon, on the other hand, are a whole different ball game. And you don't want to deal with them because they've got a very simple outlook. Their entire system is built on attrition. They get promotions by eliminating the person above them.
All right, let's go to another one, Keith. Let's go to Bobby, Double Bobby. What alien race has better beards than Dave? Oh, geez.
Well, Dave, you already know this. You just may not know you know it. The Kaldar. You guys call them dwarves. Okay. The Kaldar definitely do, and the Gedefni have a close second. Not all Gedefni have a beard that full. The Kaldar, male and female, have a better beard than just about anything out there.
Let's go to Shogun here. Do we know what any of these aliens call themselves? What do the Zeta Reticulans call themselves?
Now, I've got that written down somewhere. That's part of what and I'd love to give you a definitive. I actually only just came across that name, their name, a little bit ago. But on the whole, they accept what we've called them. Okay, but they do have a name. I'd love to give you an answer to it, but let's face it. I'm still sitting on an inch and a half of notes that I'm going through. Way too many things coming through the door all at the same time.
Why not? Why not, Keith? All right. Let's go to another question. Stargazer wants to know, what do the Greys eat?
Depends on which ones, but on the whole, they eat insects, plants, and they are omnivorous. Okay, the majority of what they eat literally boils down to being small. Primarily because of the fact that, well, let's face it, they're not exactly that big.
Like a good steak?
Oh, they will. I mean, like most reptilians, and they are. The grays, what you call the grays, the reticulans, are essentially kind of a halfway mark between what we would call a reptilian and an insectivore. They're kind of a cross between the two. See, some of the reticulans have multifaceted eyes, not just this one great big black shell. Okay, and even so, you've mentioned, you yourself mentioned right at the beginning that some of the greys have real tiny eyes. They do. But this is one of the reasons why the helmets they use have such extreme filters in the eye receptacles.
Are the big-eyed grays, the almond-shaped gray aliens, are those helmets they're wearing?
Some of them. Okay, they are designed quite literally. The head looks very similar to the helmet they wear. So depending on who, sometimes they will, sometimes they won't, depending. If you ever run into the military, they're always in a helmet. But then they've also got high tech attachments to it. But before anybody jumps on that, no, they are not robots. Certainly, they built robots that look like them, but the massive majority are literally flesh and blood, and they're by no means clones. I mean, some of them are clowns, but that's a whole different question.
All right, another question here, Keith, for you coming up. We've asked that one. Necessary Dialogue's asking, have you ever heard of a time disturbance in the space-time continuum in the year 1977?
Heard of, yes, and completely, what is the word I'm looking for? I didn't disprove it, but there's a whole lot of talk about it. The timeline is stable. You cannot disrupt the timeline. Okay, there's been a lot of things that happen. There's a lot of energy that goes through it, but you're not looking at a time dilation. You're looking at a perception problem. Okay, and that what they considered time dilation at the time was an optical distortion based on vibratory impact. Kind of like if you run a heavy-duty sound wave cross current to a speaker, you're going to get sounds that are drug out. It's going to lengthen the wavelength. Same idea with optics, and for that matter, olfactory. It just doesn't affect the timeline itself.
Sounds like right out of Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, I love the movie. Okay. Unfortunately, the only part of it that could have been done was in number 3. Was it number 3 when they jumped forward? I forget which one did which. But when they did the jump forward, that can be done. With the hiccup, you can't get back. Because reverse time travel cannot work. Yes, there are people that have said, oh, I came from the future. And I don't mean me personally. They've claimed to come from the future. Not a prayer. And no, by the way, there's no way in the world I'm going to be able to prove that one.
Another question coming here for you, Keith. This one comes from Bobby again. Has there been a case of an off-worlder being injured or eaten by a shark? Really? Oh, they're picking on me tonight, man. They're picking on me.
I was thinking, I have no doubt that some of them have been eaten by sharks. Sharks don't exactly do a genetic, up run. They don't do a genetic analysis before eating what's in front of them. If they did, they wouldn't be swallowing license plates.
True. Very, very true. All right, Keith, let's get to another question from Jennifer. Any tips for manifestation?
Depends on what you're aiming at, but the short answer is, number one, get clear in your head what it is you desire to manifest. Understand, manifestation takes place when you can control it. Okay, all the prayers, all the wishful thinking and positive affirmations in the world won't do a thing if you don't get off your tail feathers and start making adjustments. But if you're referring to calling the off-worlders to you, I'd be real cautious on that one. First of all, they pick and choose who they will for whatever they're looking into. And second of all, you got this neat little problem that some of them, you don't want them to pick you up. It's just a bad idea.
It's always a bad idea, man. Always.
There are some that are really a lot of fun to be around. The Proke, mind you, the Proke are not an off-world race, they're an ancient race.
All right, let's go to Chris Teen, who is asking, Keith, what species or race of ET is your favorite and why?
I can't tell you my favorite race because all of them have some benefits. One of the most fascinating is the vegans. Okay, vegans do not have a pain center at all. Meaning, when they abduct somebody, they don't abduct them, and they don't perform any kind of anesthetic. They don't even understand why humans scream. They look at it and it's like, what are you screaming about? You only lost an arm. The vegans have no concept of pain. The only reason they know they lost a limb is they can't utilize it anymore. I have my closest connections with the Straussians, primarily because it was them that actually saved my life decades ago. But I find one of the races that is a hoot to be around are the spear knocked in. They look like button mushrooms. But boy, you don't want to get tied up with them if they go on a rampage. Because these little guys, they will cause problems. And of course, the Kleeklok are very, very similar to what the mantis on Earth are. The little insect. The Kleeklok will kill each other without any problem at all. Usually during the mating process. But if it comes to it, they'll do it anyway.
We got 1 minute to go. Let's see if we can sneak in one more.
Sure.
Go to Jules. Do the off-worlders think there will be a cataclysm reset again for Earth?
They know that there will be. But it is something that they feel can be averted by humans. Okay, they will not step in and stop it. That's been made blatantly clear. But humans have the capacity to avoid it if humans start working together. Because the sciences around the world from various different countries, if they were to put their knowledges together, can actually alleviate a lot of the problem. The technology exists on Earth to avoid it. And here's a real kicker for you. Yellowstone, people are worried about blowing up. all that has to happen is 3 or 4 volcanoes close to the Yellowstone need to be released, or
Hold that thought,
Yellowstone
Keith.
Reserve.
Got to go to break. Our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Keith, we are clear. I'm just going to put you in the green room. We'll be back in a minute, okay? All right. Get you guys this one right there. Right there. Be right back. All right. Let's bring our Keith Andrews back in. How you doing, buddy? Hold on, I got you on mute. There you are. All right. What am I missing here? Making sure I'm not missing any questions. John Jackson, how you doing? Thank you tonight to Area 54 for a great super chat. We appreciate your love and support. Thank you to T-Bone ×2, Luscious Jules, Shogun, Lil Cam, and Dutch Hank for the super chats as well. Greatly appreciate it. And make sure if you have questions for Keith, you put them in capital letters. Easier for me to see. Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store on our website, spacedoutradio.com. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check them on out, as we got some good stuff there. Here we go. You're into hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ballyhoo. Ballyhoo is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, let's bring in our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection, hanging on out, answering all your questions about weird, strange, anomalous, non-human intelligence. Let's get right to it, Keith, as let's kick things off with Mike here, who is asking, is your bloodline a genetic marker? I am a B negative and definitely have been taken at least more than once.
Bloodline is a marker if the species picking you up, or the experiment they're picking you up for, is looking for B blood, for B negative. If they're not looking for it, you're fine. Okay. There is a misconception that says, and I forget which blood type, but Dave may know, there is a misconception that certain blood types are more prone to be being picked up than others. This is categorically not the case.
Do blood types?
And the short answer to that is because they told me.
What about the RH negative?
It's got nothing to do with anything unless they're looking for RH negative. It's very much a case of whatever the science is that they're looking at, whatever the question they've got, if you've got that blood type, they'll look for you. It's kind of like, and humans have it completely backwards. You can't ask when you're doing a survey, you can't ask the gender of somebody. Off-worlders look at and go, well, if I want to know about females, I don't want to pick up a male, period. They're just completely useless to me.
All right, let's go to another question. Let's head on over to Honest Content, who is asking, are the pale crawlers types of grays?
I missed the word because it broke out on me there, Dave.
Are the pale crawlers types of grays?
The best I can tell you is it's quite possible. There is a group of grays that are almost literally albino. What they are is real pale gray. The whole catch to it is I may not know them by the name you do. But there is a species of gray that are essentially albino because, well, frankly, they don't come out from underground. And by the sound of what you're talking about, these guys they are reticulum, but the problem is they run like a gecko. Like they literally get down on all fours because they're going through tunnels essentially on their belly.
Okay, we're ready to move on?
Fire.
All right, let's do it. Andromedan is asking, are there humans in the reticulum?
I'm just trying to figure out if you're asking, are there human genetics in the reticulin genome? The short answer is no. The reticulans are a species unto themselves. Certainly, there are some gray hybrids. Some human gray hybrids. But if we're talking about an overall, the reticulan race is part human, no. The Mobians, on the other hand, are. No, they aren't part human, they're all human. They just are way further evolved.
All right, let's move on. Honest content again. Can you send information back or forth in time?
Forth, the answer is yes. Back, no. Of course, in all fairness, depending on how far ahead you're pushing it, you send information forth, you may need a future archaeologist or encryptionist to understand what you were saying. But it depends entirely on how far down the road you're going. Of course, that begets the problem of why send the information forward. Absolutely, it gives the archaeologist a little better understanding of what was going on. But you're not going to get a response from them if that's your intention, or if that's your hope.
All right, let's move on to another one, Keith. As we continue on with our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection, Jerence is asking, which race is it that abduct average Earth males for breeding purposes with females of their species?
Which one doesn't? Sorry, the shorter and most effective answer would be the reticulans. They are the hybridization specialists, but they are not the only species that does it. The Orions are absolutely certain to do it. But then they're not interested in hybridization. They're interested in something a whole lot more carnal. And you get to take that further. I'm not going to bother.
Andromedan is asking, are the Vegans, those Hindu, supposed to be gods? Are they the gods of the Hindu worship?
No, I'd have to take a look at the Hindu side. I know who you're talking about, and I'm pretty certain I know which ones they are, but I gotta go back through my notes. That's one of the things I'm trying to pull together. Because I can tell you the Egyptian gods, the Norse gods, the Roman, you get the idea.
Horace Louis is asking, I saw a YouTube video with an alien that looked like Dobby from Harry Potter. Looked like it was doing an armpit fart walking away. What are those aliens?
That's the
You might have been
Beirut.
looking at AI, my friend.
The ones that the actual race that looks like Gobi are the Beirandi. Now, do they walk around doing what Gobi did? No. Quite frankly, little monkeys are carnivorous.
Go to Blue Cruise. Have any of the off-worlders indicated that planet Earth is entering a higher vibrational frequency to heal itself, and all of the humans currently vibrating at the right compatible frequency?
Well, the short answer is, in a manner of speaking, what's happening is the Caboran you're standing on it's got a little bit of indigestion, so it is trying to sort itself out. And if humans don't adjust to it, well, you can expect some pretty severe vertigo happening. But that'll depend entirely on where you are when it happens.
Okay.
But
Honest Content is asking, how many species of aliens are aquatic?
I couldn't even begin to guess at the actual number. You're looking at, in the consortium at present, and it is growing, you're looking at a minimum of 2,500 species, which means some are aquatic, some are airborne, and some are literally underground or on the ground. But the mix is quite extensive. But you got to remember, water and air are the same element, just different densities of it.
All right. Blue Cruz is asking, do you think that the United States will have a national conversation regarding the nature of reality in the next few years?
Thought they were having that on a daily basis in Congress. But, I'm sorry, that was rude. Fairness, I don't feel that the majority of humans on any front are ready yet to actually look at reality. Okay, because it goes so far outside what they're used to, it becomes a whole lot of complication.
Like how? How complicated?
Well, humans have the capacity. Each individual human has the capacity to modify reality by will. In other words, you desire it to change, you can make it happen. And before anybody jumps on it, no, I forgot how to pull that off, aside from in my own body. But humans are very capable of working with what we call 0-point energy. And that said, when you take a look back 50,000 years, humans literally built their entire civilization on physical manifestation. So, yeah, it absolutely works.
All right, Keith, let's move on here. Let's continue on with our Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. Blue Cruz is asking, can the off-worlders send an energetic pulse across the whole planet Earth in order to raise our awareness of their existence if they choose to do so?
If they chose to do so, they could make it very clear. But here's the thing you really got to worry about, is they can also send a pulse through the entire planet, wiping out every electronic component that we've already built. And they can do it in a heartbeat. They just won't. You see, humans have to evolve as a civilization to the point where the massive majority accept the fact that it's possible for off-worlders to exist. Okay, and no more of this issue of, are the off-worlders going to attack us, or can we avoid it? The fact of the matter is, mankind and any civilization out there has to be permitted to evolve at its own rate. They could absolutely eliminate the question of do they exist. The problem is they won't. And in my eyes, that's actually a good problem.
Why is it a good problem?
Because if they were to turn around and force that view on us, number one, people would not accept it well. and you would have a lot more cases of nervous breakdown. I mean, take a look back in, what was it? I forget what year it was done, when War of the Worlds was broadcast. And that was a terrestrial radio show. Picture what happens if all of a sudden people are forced to face the reality that we are not alone. This is going to cause societal collapse. Okay? And panic will be way beyond what anybody's ready for.
I can see that. I can totally see that. All right, Keith. Undead Jed is asking, are the Fresno Nightcrawlers aliens?
I have no idea. I have no idea what the Fresno Nightcrawlers are.
They look like a pair of MC Hammer pants.
Oh, the short answer is yes.
Well, what's the long answer?
The long answer, I haven't pulled it all together yet, but there are species that literally look that way. What is the other one? Not the fuzzy wren. There's another species that looks like inverted onions. They come from the same planet. Okay. But what you're talking about, the Nightcrawlers, they are a species that is actually more of an elemental attachment than anything else. This
Moving
is why I
on.
guess we're not actually following the actual UFO community.
Jerens is asking, do aliens have any belief in spirits or ghosts?
All of them do. One way or another, they all have the same belief structures and variations that humans have. Virtually every one of the species have a belief of one form or another that fits into that category. I just tend to use terms that humans use in order to make it a little bit more comprehensible.
All right, let's continue on here. Y2K is asking, Keith, do the Greys and Mantid beings work together when they abduct humans for research?
Only periodically. The Greys are much more likely to work with the Gadafni. Because the Greys and the Kleeklok, what you know as the Mantis, have two very different agendas. The Kleeklok are more inclined to look at you from a dietary standpoint. The Reticulans are looking at you from a hybridization standpoint, because the Reticulans are looking for broadband cultural interpreters to be grown. And yeah, I do mean that quite literally. The Kleeklok are not really that interested in the communication line or in the evolution side of it.
All right, let's continue on here, Keith. And Jules is asking, who or what is on the dark side of the moon?
Who are on the dark side of the moon?
Yeah, who or what?
The consortium has set up a way station there. Any of the species coming into the area must check in there before coming to Earth. It's also used as a stop point on the way to jump points. Because let's face it, space travel is long term. So every now and again, a species will show up and they'll stop off. It's kind of along the same idea. If you watch Star Wars or Star Trek and you take a look at 10 Forward, or you take a look at the, I forget what it was called, where Leonard Calrissian was, that kind of an intermix for people to get off of a given starship and simply have solid ground under them.
All right, Keith, let's go into another one. Let's go to Blue. The underwater alien ET bases are a concern for the U.S. Navy. Would this particular issue be reason enough for making all United States residents aware of this potential adversary?
If that, in all honesty, it's a waste of time. Don't get me wrong. I know it makes humans antsy. They are one of the most nervous species in existence. I'm sure of it. But, first of all, the underwater species that are already here on Earth have no interest in taking over the land. That'd be first and foremost. Okay? The Wayland made a mistake. Okay? Way back when they started abducting humans to get to understand them. They didn't know humans couldn't breathe underwater. Like I said, water and air are the same element. They also didn't account for the air pressure. Or for the water pressure rather. But the underwater species and the ones that have set up bases, they set it up because, number one, you go underwater. First of all, humans on the whole don't see what you're up to. Therefore, it causes less disruption on the surface, which is the whole thing they've got to watch for. You know, it's not a question of them going there to hide so they can all of a sudden come up and take over Earth from the coast. If they're going to take over Earth, if Earth wasn't protected, they wouldn't bother a slow run. They'd take it over overnight, and humans wouldn't even know it was started before the whole thing was over. But the ones underwater, yes, humans worry about it all the time. Okay, if you watch the movie Abyss, it's very, I forget who it was that did that. They actually directed that movie. But the species that they show are real.
I think we have to get rid of the threat narrative. There is no proof of a threat narrative at all from these UFOs.
No.
If you want to talk about a threat narrative, that's why we have to go to UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena, which are man-made objects. That's the threat. Alien species, as far as we know, has not considered any threat. And we also have to understand that the United States is the only country that is looking at this with a threat narrative, because threats create budget. And we're not talking $1 million, $2 million, $20 million, $40 million. We're talking billions upon billions of dollars, of taxpayers' dollars, on a false narrative. Until the ETs show any aggression whatsoever, and they redefine UFO from UAP, then we're not going to be able to see the true value of what the threat is. Keith, what's your thoughts?
I agree wholeheartedly. I've spoken to the off-worlders about their idea of how to take a planet were they going to. And Earth is not on that list. Earth is fascinating in as much as the xenosocioeconomic evolution of mankind is what's got their attention. But where it comes to the threat narrative, mankind hasn't got a snowball's prayer, and you get to figure out where, of actually stopping it were it to happen. It's great for movies. It's great for political upheaval and for, as you pointed out, Dave, for budgeting. It works out beautifully for it. But they've got no interest in it.
I would agree with you. I would completely agree with you. And you got to be careful with that, because they want to scare you. They do. But fear sells. Fear sells a lot. And it's unfortunate that they are using this topic as a fear monger to get what they want. So be diligent as an audience. Be diligent. Follow the trail. Remember, the government isn't good at telling the truth. They're better liars than truth tellers. This is Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host,
Dave Scott. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Nikki in Seattle. Dave Rice, how you doing? Blue Cruz, I don't want you to think that I was lecturing you there because I wasn't pointed directly at you. Keith, do you want to give us a little tour of your sideburns?
Well, I don't know. I'm not removing them. So you're just hooped on that one. The reality is I shear them off at the jawline and just let them grow down. Because unlike you, Dave, the itch that I get when I try and grow a full beard or just let it grow is it gets way too itchy on the underside of my jawline. And since I don't like it, I don't do that. But I keep looking at it and I'm going like, this look and dates back to the 1800s. I had a lot of fun in the 1800s. It was a different setup, but I'm pretty certain the reason that I still hang on to the sideburns, as it were, is because my father had them until about a week before he passed. They weren't this well developed, but they were always present. But no, I try and keep them neat. I try and keep them even. But let's face it, I'm cross-eyed half the time, I think. Yeah.
Lots of original questions tonight.
Oh yeah, I love it. This is why I like people when they ask questions. Well, shouldn't necessarily say I like people, but I like the fact they're asking questions. It is so much easier. And yes, by the way, Dave, I am actually in the process of putting together, I'm looking at the Paracon, and I'm already putting together a list of a point form way of looking at it to try and cover as much as I can. But I'm still going to be the same as I am here. Let's face it. I work better when people ask me a question than I do just trying to fill in what they may or may not know.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me, Keith.
Yeah, not a problem. I'm just scanning the chat as it goes by because it gives me an idea of what people are looking for, because you don't get every question. I'm pretty certain of it. I still can't figure out how you track as many as you do.
I don't know. It just happens.
What do you got here? I'm amazed. According to what I'm looking at, you got 148 watching right now, but you've only got 9 thumbs.
Oh, you got to refresh it.
Oh, okay.
Jaquetta, how are you? We have 45 seconds, Keith.
Okay, down.
Mike Jones, how you doing? Thank you tonight to T-Bone ×2, Area 54, Jules, Shogun, Lil Cam, and Dutch Hank. Appreciate your love. Really do. 5 more thumbs. We need 5 more thumbs to get 100 for the show. Dig in. Hit that button, people. It helps with our algorithms. Hi, Aussie Tiger. How are you? Shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Go to spacedoutradio.com. Here it is, the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you tuning us on in, wherever you are in this beautiful planet we call Earth. Let's get right to our Keith Andrews and the ET connection. Keith, you ready for more?
Absolutely. Fire when ready.
Bring it on. Mel wants to know, are dolphins aliens?
No. I was short. There is, however, a species that looks very much like dolphins, but they're not what we call dolphins here.
How come we don't see mermaids anymore?
Because humans have this funny idea of calling them fish and dragging them up here for dinner. Or for dinner or for display, so they tend to be a whole lot more careful. But then what you call mermaids are the whales. And they're very much alive and present. But that is quite literally why they've retreated to the depths.
All right, let's move on. Andromedan wants to know, do aliens believe in religions too, or just this Earth?
Oh, no. They all have, like I mentioned earlier, every species has its belief in a higher entity. Some of them call them the same thing. I usually, especially in races of the world, I've identified the religions by what humans call them, not by what they do, because we're going to get into a problem with that. But they all believe in some form of higher entity. Some believe in a single God. Some believe in polytheism. Some believe in just nature, if you will. Take the array, okay? And you've got somebody that believes in that structure. Many of them have multiple religious beliefs on each planet, depending on who the people are.
All right, let's continue on. We got lots of questions. Odd wants to know if they believe in source.
Yes, some of them do. That's another one of the religious paths.
Shogun wants to know, do aliens abduct other aliens?
Absolutely. They also slave trade other aliens. And eat other aliens. I mean, the array goes.
You think they ever abducted dinosaurs?
Only a couple of times, depending on which one. I mean, understand, there are dinosaurs that evolved into ancient races, which are now subterranean in Hollow Earth. But yes, they picked up dinosaurs. The Moldocs are a prime example of species that used to hunt dinosaurs, because dinosaurs are a royal pain to bring down, especially if you're not using pretty big weapons.
Mel wants to know, Keith, do you know of the ant people from the Hopi lore?
That would be the Talon. First group I ran into. Not a fan.
Why?
Try that again?
Why?
Because they're the ones that broke my right arm just to find out how much it would take. Just to find out how much pressure it would take. These guys are not what I would consider, shall we say, socially adept. But
okay. It doesn't. They get a thumbs down from you. You're not going to be Facebook friends with them.
Myself? No, I can safely say that's not likely.
All right, let's continue on here, guys. Let's go to Blue Cruise. Are certain factions of Greys used by the Draco reptilians for warfare against other aliens or ETs?
Only against their wishes. On the whole, I mean, yes, there are cross species, races that will join forces for whatever reason. Okay, but not on the whole. First and foremost, the biggest problem there is you do not want to tangle with the off-worlders or with the Greys in war. These guys are not nice, and if you abduct one of them and try and force a war with them, they're going to do everything they can to turn things around.
I got it. Cluster is asking, is there a universal currency between these species?
Yes. In consortium space, they look at average man hours. And I'm going to use the term man very loosely. Okay. They take a look at, let's say it takes 15 hours to put a table together, to put a high-tech table together. Okay. You put a table together, you're getting paid for 15 hours, and you can go and buy a meal, which may only cost 1 hour of man hours in the way of currency. In the various different societies, in their own areas, they use their own form of currency. Okay, but in consortium-controlled space, in the space between empires, it's all done on a man-hour thing. And before anybody asks, yes, there are some species that have what humans would consider handicap. Okay, that do have leeway. In most reptilian species, you don't have handicaps because they eat them. It just solves the problem right there.
All right, buddy, let's go. We have more coming. Andromeda's asking, who really terraformed this Earth?
The spirits that became the elephant. Two in specific, which is why, and those two became one. Okay, they built the Earth. They put the moon and Mobius in counterbalance in order to actually stabilize Earth. Then it went a little screwy. But the ones that actually did it are what humans consider God, on the whole, by any name you want to call him. Okay, I call him God simply because I'm lazy. 3 letters, 1 syllable, it's easy.
All right, let's continue.
And by the way, we shouldn't really call it terraforming. They built the thing.
Mike is asking, are true Jedis walking this Earth?
The short answer is, in my belief, the answer is yes. Are they walking around on Earth? No, we have a problem there because technology, you can't have that up on Earth, like up on the surface. Humans are working on it, but there are true Jedi wandering around. Matter of fact, last I heard,
Keith, I gotta get
Australia,
you. Keith, I gotta get you to stop banging your desk, okay?
My apologies. Yeah, I think I'm French or something. From what I gathered, down in Australia, they actually have the Jedi religion.
All right, let's continue on. Let's go to Nikki. I was told human clones cost the U.S. government $380 million to create, grow, and store. What kind of facilities would be needed to store them, and where do you think these facilities may be?
Well, number one, what kind of facility? Extremely high tech. Undoubtedly, they will be underneath major cities. We're talking way under. Okay, can't tell you which cities. Haven't got a prayer telling you that. I don't deal with the U.S. government. Well, at least not intentionally. Okay. But you'd have to have a massive facility and extremely high tech to do it.
You think it's going on?
I have no doubt it's going on. It's been going on for literally decades. I'd like to say centuries, but they had a different way of doing things then.
Gotcha. All right, let's continue. Blue is asking, what's your take on the reincarnation soul trap, tricking human souls to return back to Earth into a different physical 3D body?
Sorry, that might give you an idea. The human body is a vehicle for the soul. The soul chooses, and the whole contract thing is the soul choosing a vehicle. Now you can choose as a soul to come back as a human, as a blade of grass, as a dandelion, if you'd like. It is all a question of figuring out who you are as a soul, and it's like choosing whether you desire a Hodaka, a GMC, a Toyota, or what was that?
I don't know. It just sounded like there was a whistle.
Okay, I heard that. But yeah, I mean, there is no tricking humans to come back or a soul to come back. You don't trick a soul.
Let's move on. Jay is asking, do ghost aliens abduct ghosts?
Ultimately, the short answer would be yes. Because what you're looking at is a different vibratory rate. And that's all it is. Other than that, you're looking at species. And it goes on all over the place.
Let's go here. Jeff Steve Garvey is asking, what species have the hive mentality?
There's a few that do. Vegan definitely do. The Talon, not so much a hive mentality, but they've got a unified one. And the Xenon are they're a link. The one that you might consider would be your Korlock. Okay, which you may consider a hive because the Korlock can become, they're elementals and they can merge, so their separation is a little different.
All right, let's continue on. Super Crazy's asking, do aliens have video recordings of humanity before we had recording technology ourselves?
Oh, Lord, yeah. They've got three-dimensional holographic interfaces of humans before humans evolved to the point of technology. They had it before humans figured out what a cave was, never mind how to get out of it.
I'll assume that's a good thing.
I don't know if you want to call it good. It's a thing. It's kind of like asking if rain fell before mankind realized it was rain.
All right, brother. Let's get to another question here. Go to Paramarv. Is there some big event in our history that the aliens do not get credit or blame for?
I honestly don't know. Because every time I talk to somebody's saying the aliens did this to us and they're going to straighten it out. Number one, they didn't do it. On the whole, like for instance, the Great Flood, the massive meteor impact that wiped out the dinosaurs had nothing to do with the off-worlders. Okay, it was just this funny little thing called evolution. I know creationism takes a whole new ballgame. I'll tell you, the reality is a combination between the two. But no, Humans are very good at blaming somebody else. Okay. And they haven't sadly got a clue what they're referring to. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of scientists that say we've done all the studying. You also missed the boat in a lot of cases. But no, the natural disasters that have happened, the evolution that mankind has gone through, even the evolution of the computer that was not done by off-world intervention or by retrieving an off-world ship. It was done because mankind actually has a brain. I know you wouldn't know it in today's world in a lot of cases, but mankind is responsible for most of its own technological advances and most of its medical ones. Sadly, where they've got the cures or where they've got the technique to make things run smoother, greed got really badly in the way, and all of a sudden we have a problem.
Regan is asking, where are people from the future who can build such massive computer temples?
Where are they?
Probably in the future.
I was thinking that because they certainly didn't come back here. Einstein was human. He just had a brain that was insane. Okay, extremely well developed, as did Hawkins. Hawkins as well. And there are some staggering minds out there. Problem is, most of the technology that can actually make life easier, governments and corporations bury it. Okay, I can list off all kinds of examples of ones that I know have been buried because I've talked to the inventors. The thing we have to realize is all people, all humans, have the capacity to alter the way this world is going, but it is time to start working together to make it happen.
Is that even possible?
Absolutely. You think about it. The Scottish clans could never unite, the United States would never become a country, and Canada would never create its own country. It was never going to happen because it couldn't. And yet here we are.
All right, Keith, let's get to Blue. Any information regarding atmospheric jellyfish?
Yeah, I just can't give you the name of them right offhand, but they absolutely exist. They also travel in outer space, by the way. And some of them, like you'll see, they look so much like a terrestrial jellyfish, you may not recognize them. Okay, but you take a look at, for instance, the Portuguese man of war. Okay, this is a terrestrial jellyfish. If you get one of the off-worlders, and I do have them in book 2, if you get one of the atmospherics, they don't sting the individual, they consume them. And then you don't have a body.
Five minutes to go, Keith. We got a few more questions.
Fire away.
Regan is asking, we are people from the future, nothing more, nothing less. Your thoughts?
We are people from the present. People from the future you haven't come to yet, and you're not likely to. It is possible to go to the future, but you can't come back, which means the people that are claiming, I'm from the future, I'm telling you, from my experience, absolute hogwash. And there's another way of putting that, but we're going to keep it clean. Okay, you don't have people from the future. You have people that have advanced minds and can think way beyond the modern world, but they're not from the future. They're today. They're from now.
All right, let's go to Dawn. How many species are there appearing to be human?
No way I can even begin to give you a count on that. Okay, looking human is a little bit of a stretch, especially if you consider bipedal, which is a lousy stability form. but I can't even begin to guess how many species look that way.
Go back to let's go to Super Crazy here. Do ETs love humans like family, or do some see us as insignificant insects?
Try that again.
Do ETs love humans like family, or do some see us as insignificant insects?
Take a look at the array. Some species look at humans as insects, some as, hey, these are decent people. Some look at them as pets. Some look at them as gods. Okay, you've got the entire array that you can work with. But the ones in the consortium realize that humans are simply a very under-evolved, self-deprivating species that is way too fear-based for its own good. Hence why they have not been brought into the consortium as of yet.
Blue is asking, what we refer to, or pardon me, are what we refer to as ghosts just human consciousness floating around the astral plane?
In some cases, yes. Basically, you're looking at and I'll use the term human consciousness for lack of a better term, but that is the driver of whatever vehicle, while they wander around looking for another vehicle, aka while they look around choosing a body to reincarnate into. Whether it's human, if they're going from human to human, average turnaround time is 70 years, and usually takes place on the other side of the planet. It avoids hiccups from memory overlay.
All right, let's go to Andromedan. This will be your final question of the night, Keith.
Okie doke.
What is your intake on the Andromedan spaceship? Sadly, I forgot.
And on the Andromedan spaceships?
Yes.
Number one, the Andromedans are they're a wonderful race, extremely technologically advanced. Okay. But they are certainly not, if anybody's worried about them being warships, not at all. They're just not even that way inclined, never mind geared for it.
How come?
Well, number one, the more advanced you get as a species, the less war becomes a rational option. Okay, there are ways of shutting down a war without even firing a shot. And the more advanced species automatically do that. With the Andromedans, they could simply shut it down without even blinking. So there is no point in war for them. Now, technological advancement, that they've got a reason for. Okay, but that's because they haven't evolved to the point that the Mobians did, where they think about it and they've got it. And yes, the Mobians still visit Earth, but that's kind of like going to the outback to see what it was like.
Keith, we got 20 seconds. I want to say a big thank you for coming on tonight. Tell everybody where you can find you.
Easiest way to find me is to go to buymeacoffee.com/innervoiceJ. That'll bring you to all the books I've written. It'll bring you to how to get a hold of me. And of course, right here on YouTube, I'm at R. Keith Andrews. Okay, because I've got 2 streams going.
All right, buddy. Appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk to you next month. R. Keith Andrews of the ET Connection continues right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Good job, Keith. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
We get ready for Lee Strauss coming up in a minute here. And we'll talk to you soon, Keith.
Absolutely. You
All right,
take
buddy.
care.
Bye-bye. All right, our Keith Andrews, everybody. He will be speaking at Caribou Con coming up in September. So make sure you go to cariboucon.com and get your tickets. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. Let's get ready for extra small Lee Strauss. What's happening, buddy?
Well, I'm just here trying to grow my beard out.
Oh, nice. I'm thinking about trimming mine. I'm into serious conversations with myself.
Oh, yeah. That's where it starts anyway.
Yeah. Jeff Papalia, how you doing? Grandizer, nice to see you. Excuse me. We got about 40 seconds. The Swamp Dweller tonight will be 3 minutes and 3 seconds. Big thank you to our super chatters, including T-Bone ×2, Little Cam, Dutch Hank, Area 54, Jules, Sean, and Monvant. Thank you. Thank you for the love. Appreciate that. Craig Owens. Hit up Dirty Filth, Grandizer. Any guests that you have, hit up Dirty Filth or Jules at bookings at spacedoutradio.com. There's your email. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. It is always good to have you here as we have Swamp Dweller and extra small Lee Strauss about to come on the show here momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ballyhoo. Ballyhoo is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. So I was sitting in my room watching YouTube or something stupid like that. Suddenly I recalled a past memory. I think what triggered this is me being a horror story lover and a fan of Let's Read, Swamp Dweller, and the likes. I wanted to submit a story, but it took me a while to remember all the details. I suddenly recalled my past memory of mine, which gave me chills just to imagine it. I remember it was me, my mom, my brother, and my aunt and her kids. My brother was about 4 years old at the time. I would like to say I might have been around 11. We were all packed into an SUV heading back from a children's museum. It was about midnight or around that time. We were on a slightly busy highway. I'm talking maybe 2 cars every minute, so it was not just us. We were somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, at least it seemed like it anyway. We were really around halfway in between 2 cities, maybe an hour away from the closest town. We were in the back seat doing little kid stuff, laughing and having fun as the adults spoke in the front about politics or something like that. There was a large open field to the right of the car, and a tree line to the left. Suddenly, a large crippled, at least by the looks of it, light brown animal jumps out about 50 miles per hour from the tree line and onto the road. We noticed this immediately because my mom and aunt screamed something along the lines of "holy crap," and the car screeched to a halt. The little kids began screaming and crying, as I sat in terror and shock as my mom sat in confusion and fright, staring as I did too. My aunt leaned back towards us kids and tried calming us down by saying it was just a kangaroo and that it was okay. Now, there are 2 reasons this is incorrect. 1, this is southern Indiana. 2, I know damn well a kangaroo doesn't pull its hind smashed legs behind it as it uses its 2 upper arms to drag itself across the ground. And there's no way that it would be able to yeet itself 20 feet into the air to land from one side of a 4-lane highway to another. Then this thing crawled off at an unspeakably fast pace into the dark field, with only 2 arms dragging its blood-covered legs. I swear to God it turned and looked directly at me. Its eyes were human-like. This one, it was different. Now, I had just learned about skinwalkers about a year or 2 years ago. I know enough about their appearance. Like I said, the whole body was light brown. But as the neck started, the hair began to look black and singed. Charcoal black, if you will. It had a snout like a dog, but slightly longer. It had red around the bottom of its eyes and the tips of its snout. I would like to say it was torn, if that makes sense. The closest thing I can relate this to is maybe if you had seen the trailer for the movie Annihilation. It looked kind of like that bear creature that leans over the woman's shoulder. I asked my mom about it, and she somehow does not remember it.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to listen to each and every day and night. From the swamp to the stars, let's bring in extra small Lee Strauss for the Q&A.
They call him extra small, but he's big where it counts. Chasing Bigfoot through the woods on wild accounts. Talking ghosts in the dark, UFOs in the sky. Aliens laughing while they're cruising by. Yeah, Lee Strauss is out there. Hear that cosmic call? He's the legend of Element 115. Here on Spaced Out Radio's Q&A.
All right, extra small Lee Strauss. It's always good to have you on the show, my friend. Thank you for coming on in. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's amazing to me during our conversations that we have every Friday, or just about every Friday for that matter. How many times do I take my hat off during this show?
Well, you know what?
Probably.
We always give the tip of the cap to each other, and it's always worth it, my friend, because you're one of the good guys in this field.
Yeah, it's just funny. I think we must do it like 6 to 8 times per show. Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
At least. Hey, sometimes you need to do more.
Well, that's correct. There's nothing better than a good hat tip.
Well, let's try one right now.
Here's another one.
Just try one right now. Appreciate that. I went out to Flight 21 today.
Okay.
I went out to Flight 21 today.
Yeah.
Couldn't get there.
Hmm.
So the logging road was great. Had to move one tree along the side road. But the gully is still quite frozen. And I parked up top. I'm like, okay, I know I can get down. I don't know if I could get up. And there is no room to turn around. So therefore, probably not a good time to go on up. I'm just saying. Wasn't a good time to go on up. So we ended up not going. We're about 3/4 of the way there, but we couldn't get all the way. I think in about 3 weeks we'll be good. We should be good in about 3 weeks. I'm pretty excited, man.
I know you are. These early season type ventures out into the woods, the earlier you can get out, the better, because you never know what you're going to find. You've not been there for months, right? So you never know what you're going to find. And I love going out to a couple of places here in Washington too, in the early spring, just for that exact reason, because people haven't been out there yet. You know what I mean? You never know what you're going to find.
That's very true. Very true. All right. You ready to talk some UFO stuff here? Because it is a little bit daunting what has come out this past week.
Yep, let's get into it.
Let's start off with Matt Gaetz, the former congressman, coming out and saying that he had a uniformed army soldier come into his office when he was a congressman. And this was an enlisted man who came in and opened up about the idea that there are military bases that are storing aliens, and they are doing genetic testing and hybridization with these aliens with kidnapped people, usually from third world countries or war zones or the destitute that just don't have anybody. He said there are allegedly up to 14 of these bases where this is happening. And it was shocking because shortly after that, Tim Burchett, who's been a very loud proponent of disclosure, was asked that same question about Matt Gates's podcast interview on the Benny Johnson show. And on Newsmax, Burchett pretty much said, if you'd seen what he's seen, you'd set the world on fire because it's a little scary. It's a little hairy. And he thinks the public should be frightened. What do you think of all this?
Well, let's get into this. Okay. So the Burchett thing with setting the world on fire. Well, it's because the majority of the world, I believe, is not necessarily Catholic. That's not the right word, but religious and believes in God, right? Let's just go there for a moment. What if that God that they believed in was different than what we read about in the Bible? And what if Jesus wasn't necessarily God's son, but partially ET, just like you're saying, a hybrid? So these things are things I think about, and what that would do to the world if we found out that these realizations could be true and could twist and turn religion on its head. It's a real possibility, I suppose. It depends on how far down the rabbit hole we want to go with this thing. But yeah, it's scary to think that everything that we've been taught so far since we were born could end up being different than what reality is. And yeah, it set the world on fire. It set people's minds on fire. How do you readjust your belief system around that? And a lot of people, abductees for instance, struggle with everything that they've learned and then being taken and then being shown this other reality, like yourself, like myself, like many thousands of other people. It's to struggle in that new reality and find a foothold in it. It's not an easy thing.
No, it's not an easy thing whatsoever, my friend. It's actually kind of scary. And it's funny because just a couple nights ago, we were talking on this show about the potential Pandora's box that is sitting in the Pentagon. I did not have allegedly abducting people from third world countries and war zones on my bingo card to be tested with alien human hybrids. I believe in the human hybrid program. I know many people who, male and female, who make those claims. Okay, where they are abducted, women have their ovaries scraped for eggs, and men have the anal probe in order to stimulate the prostate to cause ejaculation, and the sperm is taken. I know many people who've gone through this. They just don't like to talk about it publicly, most of them, especially the men, because they feel very violated. And they are absolutely convinced that this is what was happening to them. But the idea that there is potentially, and this is all hearsay, We have to say the truth. It is all hearsay that this enlisted Army soldier went into Matt Gates's office and said, there are these bases. And what Congress needs to do is send people to all of these bases at the same time. So that way, when they go into these bases, that way they can't shuffle the people off to a different base and hide them and act like nothing is happening there. That's scary, man. That is a whole different type of Hollywood reality that you'd only see in a movie, Lee.
I agree. I've heard about these mass kidnappings, and children being, taken and being shuffled around. And as well as adults, right? And usually you hear about that as far as the sex trade is concerned. But is it possible that they're doing these experiments? Well, absolutely. I mean, here in the US, we've heard of stories of inmates being tested and drugs being tested on unwitting populations and all kinds of this crazy stuff. So, yeah, I believe it's very possible that these nefarious things are happening. Third world countries are easy because people go missing all the time, right? And it's not like there's hundreds of people in these third world countries looking for this individual. Where in the US, that happens. If somebody disappears, usually you have hundreds or thousands possibly of people looking for these individuals. So it's harder here, especially with all the eyes and cameras and different things that we have. And in third world countries, you don't have as much of that.
No, you're very much true. A lot of these third world countries, they don't take a census. They don't know how many citizens they have. And frankly, because a lot of them are war torn or are run by, cartels or mobs or gangs or warlords, they don't really pay attention to the population. It's not important to them. So you're right. They are easy pickings if that's the case where it's happening. But it's just so scary to think, man. And this is why, like I mentioned, the Pandora's box earlier. This is why I think this is part of disclosure. If this is true, if this story is true, there has to be a comment or two about this or release of information that this is happening. Not the UAP stuff. Let's get to the disclosure stuff, because if they are performing experiments on aliens and humans together, that is part of disclosure. That is the disclosure we need for the public.
What I'm concerned about here, Dave, is, when you go out and you pick a number like 14 different places, I mean, you're giving a specific number. And how compartmentalized this stuff is with the UFO tech and this sort of thing. I find it extremely hard to believe that someone would, come out and say, yeah, there's 14 of these bases or 14 locations. That screams a little foul for me. I mean, it's hard for me to grasp that. You know what I mean? To come out with a number like that.
Foul howly, like that. It's not, that seems a little too much. That doesn't seem, it seems a little out of touch with reality. How are you?
Yes. A little hard for me to swallow. Okay. Because it's like somebody picking a date out of the air. Okay. On December 6th, at this time, there's, there's going to be UFO contact. It's a similar thing where you're picking it. Basically, you're saying there's 14 locations. One person's going to know about all these 14 locations where this is going on. It just seems to me the way that things are compartmentalized within the government, it doesn't seem like there would be one individual. And if there is, it's a very, very minute um, group of people that would know, like the aviary or something. It would be a very small group of people that would know about all of this going on, all 14 locations. So that for me is a little bit hard to swallow.
Well, and that's the problem with hearsay type evidence like this. Because where do you even start your location? Because something like this, if true, would be so hidden from the norms of everyday people within the alphabet agencies that there is no way we're going to be able to find it. There's no way we're going to be able to find it at all unless somebody physically, that person physically goes back to Congress, because Matt Gaetz would have his name or her name, and that person drives them to the location to say, this is where you need to get into. These are the dates it happens. It's on this floor of the building, say 5 stories below ground. Okay. These are the photographs I've taken. These are or this is the person you need to talk to because they are not happy with what's going on. Whatever. There's always a lead, because we have to remember, as much as these alphabet people are patriotic, they are all for the cause, the science, the whatever it may be. In the end, we're all human. And in the end, we crack, we break, and we talk. You can't tell me there isn't somebody who would want to talk in that program. Okay. There are people out there who work at Area 51 and other secret bases. They talk. They may not be in the media, but they'll talk to their friends about what they saw. They'll talk to their family members about what they saw or what weaponry they saw or aircraft that they saw. I can't tell you much, but let's just say it looked like this, or they draw it out, or whatever it may be. It happens all the time, right? Because people need conversation. They may not break their NDA, but they could give up enough without breaking their NDA and say the who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it'd be important to find out what's the purpose if this is going on. What is the purpose of, hybridization or taking, ET DNA and splicing it in with human DNA? It would be a good thing to brainstorm and try to figure out why the government would be doing that. Of course, if this comes out, we'll know why. But it seems to me the psi abilities would be crucial, a thing to foster, right? The psi ability, so you can understand what people are thinking from a distance. You know, um, like where is a country's underground bases, where certain things being stored, these sorts of things, right? Psi abilities would be huge to the government.
I think you're right on that. I think you're absolutely right. But we still, if Matt Gaetz is going to go publicly with that, which he probably shouldn't have, but did anyways, it's very interesting to see where, if anywhere, this is going to lead or if it's going to disappear. What you have to do before we go to break here is you have to keep hounding the local mouthpiece, who is Tim Burchett, and let him go on a rant and rave about it. That's what you need to do. Otherwise, this topic, if even true or false, will just be swept under the rug.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
All right, buddy, we're clear.
Thanks, Paramar, for throwing that up.
What's the issue?
Oh, he threw up how to contact me.
Oh, Paramarv's amazing that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I love to brainstorm, this stuff, right? Because we may never find the minutia, but at least we can speculate intelligently about this stuff, right? And the more information you get, the more you're able to connect the pieces of the puzzle, right? It's fun. I love it.
I agree with you. I'm so excited. My grandson came today.
Oh.
Yeah, I kind of like him. And it's pretty awesome. He calls me Papa.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And he's very handsome.
That's awesome. I got to talk with my son today, and
nice.
that was really, really awesome.
How's he doing?
He's doing great. I'll just give you guys a little blip about him. He's in the Air Force, and he's doing extremely well right now. They're putting him through some schooling and whatnot. This is after basic, so he's went in last November, but he's gotten some awards, distinguished airman, and some other accolades. So he is one smart cookie, and I am extremely proud of him. Extremely.
You should be. It's amazing.
I know. He'll never tell us the goods, though. He keeps things close to his chest, when you know what I mean. He's, unfortunately, because I'd sure like to probe him on some things, what he's been taught and what he knows about, but he'll never talk about it.
Either way, he's enjoying it though.
Yes, he's loving it. He is loving it. He's having the time of his life, it seems, right now.
Where's he stationed?
He's not stationed yet. He's still going through some schooling, but it sounds like he's headed to New Mexico for about 6 months more training down there. Then he's supposed to come up to Spokane to do some what kind of survival training, I guess.
Yeah.
And then he gets more practical training. Yeah, then he'll be off. But it keeps changing, which is funny, Dave. He tells me one thing about his training and what he's going through, and he says, well, I'm going to be doing this for 3 months, and then they're going to move me and do some other training or whatever. And then I talked to him, a couple weeks, and then he's like, nope, I got 6 months of this. So he doesn't even know how much training, is going to happen and exactly what it is until they ship him off to a new spot. So
You better go find them aliens.
Yeah, I don't want to get in too much detail because I don't want to out him.
No.
Yeah, but it's really cool. It's really cool.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. His tests, I mean, he's all way above 90% in all his testing and so forth. So
they're really liking him.
And I think that's why they're keeping him in school for as long as they are.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's good stuff right there, man.
Yep.
I can see where that would make you happy.
Yeah. Certainly does.
We got about 25 seconds. Thank you tonight to Morvant, Area 54, Shogun, Jules, T-Bone times 2, Little Cam, and Dutch Hank. Here we go, everybody. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are with Extra Small Lee Strauss, hanging on out with us. And this is the Q&A. All right, Lee, this weekend, the new Bob Lazar movie comes out called S4. And it's put out by Luigi Veditelli, Montreal guy, good Canadian kid, who did a complete 3D animation along to exactly his words. I had somebody message me about this. They've already seen it. Okay. And this person said to me point blank, I need to talk with Bob Lazar. Because allegedly, what I've been told from a few people who've worked at the secret base is that Bob Lazar and his story there are a complete joke. It is one of those things. What are you going to go Lazar on us? You know, with all the weird stuff, you know, it's a running joke, you know, kind of like you get Joe Dirted. If you remember the Joe Dirt movie, which was absolute classic Dana Carvey.
Yep.
Or not Dana Carvey. What's his name? Now I'm stuck.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. He was in Tommy Boy Saturday Night Live. Now I got to look it up. Gosh darn it. Who played Joe Dirt? Why am I missing his name right now? Oh my goodness. David Spade. David Spade. You know, Paramarv in our chat room is like an encyclopedia. If I'm missing something, he just pops it up just like that. Just like that. Thank you, Paramarv. Okay. So it's kind of like they look at this as a running gag from what I've learned. It doesn't matter, you know, whether, you know, there's people who've worked there for 40 years. We're coming up on Bob Lazar, you know, his story coming up 40 years ago already. Scary to think. I mean, it makes you look old. Not me, but you. So it's something that, you know, there's people who allegedly would have overlapped that. And even people who've already retired from the base saying, he didn't work there. No, he didn't. But after this came out, one of these people who I know who had spent time there literally said, I need to talk to him. There were some things that he stated in this movie that he has never said before. And now it's got me curious. He didn't say he believed Lazar, but this person did say that it's got him curious, more curious than ever. You know, this is where I look at somebody like legendary aviation historian Jim Goodall, who's good friends with Bob Lazar. Jim, who has seen the secrets of secrets, okay, and is connected beyond what we even know, including a guy who owns a rocket company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not naming names. May have started PayPal. Anyways, he knows Bob, and he's been to Bob's house many a times. And in fact, one time when he was at Bob Lazar's house, I happened to call Jim just to see how his holiday was going, and it was my birthday. I said, hey, Jim, it's my birthday. are you still at Bob Lazar's house? He goes, in fact, I'm sitting on his couch right now and he's sitting right in front of me. I said, well, it's my birthday, Jim. Would you mind if I said hello to Bob Lazar? That would be a great birthday present. So he goes, sure, let me pass the phone over. I hear Jim, hey, this is my buddy Dave Scott from Canada. He runs a radio show called Spaced Out Radio. It's his birthday today, Bob, and he would love to say hello to you. So Bob says, yeah, of course. So I got to talk to Bob Lazar for like 5 minutes. I tell you, I was like a kid in a candy store. I didn't ask anything about Area 51 or S4. I was too nervous. I was. It was like one of those moments, some of us were lucky enough to have a parent or a grandparent where when they saw you or you were really good or you did your chores, they would take you down to the toy store and they would say, hey, son, or hey, daughter, here's $20. And back then, $20 was a ton of money.
Right.
You did very well this week at helping mom and dad out or grandpa or grandma out. Pick what you want. And then we're going to go for ice cream. Now, that didn't happen often in the Chernichan household. Yeah, that's my real last name. Whatever. Okay. But I can tell you when it happened, it was a special moment. A special, special moment. So that was what it was like with Bob Lazar. But anyways, there's this new movie coming out.
Mm-hmm.
It's out. I'm going to be watching it soon. I'm going to be watching it very soon. And I'm excited to see it because I love the Bob Lazar story. So after that big, long-winded answer, Lee, because I'm sure you'd actually like to talk here for a second.
Absolutely.
Why can we not get enough of Bob Lazar?
Oh, I feel so bad for Bob and all the dirt that's been thrown at him for over the years. I hear stories about him. He was a janitor, and that's why he knows, because he listened to people, the scientists, talk around the water cooler and this and that and the other thing. They're not supposed to talk around the water cooler about this stuff. I'm telling you what, it's so highly compartmentalized. You're not allowed to say anything anywhere outside of right where your work area is. Okay. So I doubt that he overheard people talking about this stuff, which leads me to one conclusion, that he actually in some way worked on the craft. The models, the sport model, this and that. Are you saying that in this movie, the model of the hangar from S4 is what they created and not just the craft?
And to take it one step further, they take you inside the craft of what Bob Lazar saw.
Okay.
So they've made an entire 3D model, AI model of inside the craft.
But also the hangar.
They went, from what I am hearing, they have gone through every step from every colored line on the floor that only certain people can go on the lines. This is what I want to see, because I've been told a lot, not much. I shouldn't say a lot because that's not true. But for me, it's a lot. Okay. About the little things in there. The people that I know that have been there, I've said, hey, are those lines on the floor true? Yes, they are. Do they have the eye scanners or the hand scanners? Certain areas. Okay. What's the food in the cafeteria like? The greatest food ever. Okay. Have you been on a Janet jet? What's it like? Well, it's like flying on a normal 737. Okay. That's pretty much what it's like. It's pretty much what it's like. So, I mean, I know I'm asking really basic questions because I don't want to ask a lot of the hard questions because the answer is always the same. I can't tell you that. My NDA won't let me tell you that. No, I'm not getting into that. I'm not going to tell you what I seen. Right? And you have to respect that. So you have
Yeah.
to take these little morsels and crumbs to paint the picture. And I'm more than happy doing that, Lee.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I now I want to see it. When I was a kid, well, I wasn't a kid. I think it was in my 30s or so when I first was introduced to the Bob Lazar story, and I was fascinated, absolutely freaking fascinated that there had been a guy that had worked on these craft who was coming out and talking about it. It was just mind blowing to me, and I soaked up like a sponge every word that he said. In fact, I think I even drew pictures of what he was talking about to better try to understand the technology myself. You know what I mean? Because it was just beyond the beyond. It was something that I saw, like this massive craft that I saw in the sky, the first UFO that I ever saw, right? And I wanted to understand what I had seen. And you talked about the wave guides that would point different directions to push the craft in the opposite direction, right? And so it was very, very interesting to me, and I've continued to follow his story, and it was heartbreaking to me to find out certain things that had come out about Bob Lazar, which could be true, and also maybe could not be true, right? They're trying to hurt him in several different ways so that he's not as credible as maybe you would have thought. Um, I don't know what parts of the story are true as he has done, but there's has been some concerning things, but when you listen to the guy talk, he has this truth about him, right? You can watch somebody talk on TV or on a podcast. You can listen to what they're saying. You could watch the body language, and you can read that person pretty well within maybe 80 to 70 percent accuracy, whether or not they're telling you the truth. And I always got the feeling this guy is telling the truth.
Me too.
So it's something we all have that capability of doing that, right? And the people that I think that aren't feeling it are people that don't believe in the phenomena to that extent. You know what I mean? So they want to brush it off because they aren't there yet, right? They want to deny the possibility, either that or the fact is he's talking about something that he shouldn't have been talking about, but now it's out there, and they've got to cover it up, right? So they try to throw in a bunch of gobbledygook and just cover it up, make him look bad.
I think that he has been telling the truth.
Mhm.
I want to believe him. I've just always been a fan of this incredible story, and I want more. I'm not
Mhm.
sick of this story yet. I really am not sick of this story. And would I like him to sit? Would I love to see a debate, or maybe not a debate, but a conversation between Bob Lazar and somebody who worked at Area 51, so that way they could get into the stories, because the story isn't about the craft. It isn't about the base. It isn't about certain things. But from what I think there has to be, I'm sure there is protocol. From the time you leave Las Vegas, you fly in on the Janet jet, you land the Janet jet. I'm sure there's some sort of protocol, okay, that look, certain people in this building eat at 11 a.m. They clear out of the lunchrooms and the cafeterias by 12:30. Then group B from this building come over and eat there. What were the beds like? What was the name of the longtime security officer who checked you in?
Mhm.
Those are the questions, if answered, that would be able to tell if Bob was there. Okay, like Lee, let's say you were the one on detail where you had to swipe everybody's ID before they got dispersed to where they needed to go. I don't know if that's a thing, but maybe it is. Okay, and let's say your name was Lee, and you had worked there 28 years doing the same thing every day, checking people in when they flew in. He should know your name. Seeing you that now, granted, he was only there, 6-9 weeks before he got caught with the UFO stuff going public. Yeah. Okay. But if that's the case, he would still know your name or could describe you. Okay. Lee doesn't, he wears a ball cap because, he doesn't want everybody to see his luscious hair. Okay. He has a beard, a white beard with a darker mustache. He's very into fitness. He's got, a superfluous third nipple. I don't know. I mean, there are things though, and I say that in jest, but there are things that he would know or that everybody would know. So I think that would be much better if he had a conversation with somebody who worked there. The problem is the people who work there, they don't want anything to do with the public. And they only hang out with people who worked there as well.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to have conversations with people who haven't.
Well, for the longest time, Dave, for the last, 3 years, we've been screaming for people. We want to talk to the people who have, worked on these craft. And this has been common, right? It's all hearsay, or it's from this person to that person, to David Grush before we get the information. We wanted to talk to the people who actually had their hands on the craft, and Bob Lazar is that person. But they've thrown so much freaking mud at the guy, but he still is that person.
He still is. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I just want to see it. I just want to see it happen, man. I want to see that conversation. I want to believe this story so bad. To me, it is one of the greatest stories that is out there, and it could be easily proven. I don't want Bob Lazar to go to his grave without being confirmed. Yes, he's given his word. Okay, we have to trust him at his word. But if somebody came out and said, Bob Lazar worked here, I saw him there, or I knew him there, or I was there and I heard people talk about him when they worked with him. That's what we need.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly. And let me point out one other thing too. There's a lot of people that like to jump on the bandwagon, wherever the bandwagon is, in ufology, or if it's, Bigfoot or whatever the crazy thing of the week is. There's always people that jump on the bandwagon. Bob Lazar was the first. No one jumped on that bandwagon before him or came out with this information. He did. And since then, there have been other people that have jumped on the bandwagon. The 30 and back crowd, what I'm saying is that he's the originator of this story, and of somebody that's highly technical, dealing with UFOs and back engineering. That's where where this story began. And a lot of other people have taken that to, new heights and different spaces, and come up with new stories all around Bob Lazar's story. So, someone that comes out with that information first is someone you should probably listen to.
No, I agree with you. Look, there is one thing that still kind of bugs me about the Bob Lazar story. Okay. It's not his criminal record afterwards where he, was putting up cameras in a brothel in Vegas. A lot of people busted him on that. They looked for everything. They nitpicked the living hell out of his life. Okay. Good people sometimes do bad things or wrong things. That's human nature. But the one thing that still baffles me about it, Lee, before we get going here, is if he was truly in danger, how did he get a government contract for the government science for United Nuclear, his company? If they really were out to get him, how was he able to get government contracts? That mystery, I would like to ask him myself.
There you go.
Okay, if they were really after you, really shooting at you and trying to kill you, why would the government then go out and say, okay, Bob, it's all good now. Let's give you this contract. That part doesn't make sense to me, Lee.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about that. But sometimes we got to realize there's different factions in the government, right?
That is very true.
Just one big happy party. It's not.
Extra small Lee Strauss, it is always a pleasure to have you on this show for the Q&A as we get to say goodnight to you. So thank you for a great show, my friend. We appreciate it. As we say goodnight to Lee, and hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocket in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job there, Major Lee.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, man.
We do good work.
Yeah, we do.
My hours are nuts.
Yeah,
I'm
what's
telling you
going
what.
on?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm the site foreman for this project, and it's a huge project. It's a big one. And it takes me, I start at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
and I work till a lot of nights till 5. So I am putting
Right.
in a lot of time right now. And thank God I don't have to work this weekend, but it is probably, since I started with my company 32 years ago, this is the busiest, most intense project I've ever been on. I mean, the pay is the pay is fantastic, but the hours are killing me.
Didn't you just work like 12 in a row?
I actually got last Sunday off, so that was nice. But yeah, I had planned to work 12 days in a row.
Holy cow.
Yeah. And it's as we go forward here, I think it's going to get more and more. We just brought on a new guy. So if I'm done and I have to go because I'm, overwhelmed, he will lock up for me, which is good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at the Tim Hortons drive-through today. We're going to Flight 21 because it is tradition. Hi, Sarah Uzray. How are you? Welcome to SOR Chat. Gorgeous Kim Jellin. How's the teeth flossing going on right now?
Ooh.
Please give us an update. So I'm at the Tim Hortons drive-through. There's two vehicles. There's two lanes, two vehicles in front of me. Both of them sat there for about 5 minutes. And I'm like, move. 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 So I didn't see what the one got, the first car to go that I took their lane. But I saw what the second one got. It was a little bag of food and a drink. People, for the love of God, please. Hi, gorgeous Larry. How are you? Good morning, Skip to my Lou. For the love of God, please. If you're going to a drive-through window of any sort of fast food restaurant that you've already been to at a minimum of 1,000 times in your life, have your order ready when you get to the microphone. You don't need to sit at that window and and ha and ha for the next 18 freaking minutes. You don't. You already know what you want because you're going to get the same thing every time. That's what fast food is all about. It's comfort food. Don't give me this crap. Well, I don't know. I usually get the soup and a sandwich, but today I'm craving a bagel. Okay, fine. You're allowed to do that. But if you're craving that bagel at the window and you're ha kind of crap, you're killing the rest of us. Literally killing the rest of us. I'm just saying. I'm literally just saying. Lee, I hate those people. Don't be that people.
No. It's funny though that you're telling me this now. So you have a ritual before you go out there every time.
Oh, dude, I am superstitious as hell. You didn't know that?
Okay, so believe it or not, I've got a ritual too. Before I head out into the woods, or before I
You
go
have to.
watch for. Oh yeah,
You totally have to.
it's a thing, right? So
Yes,
we
sir.
have to stop. We have to stop at the store and get kombucha. Dirty douche water, kombucha.
Yeah, I'm not into that dirty douche water. Okay.
I love kombucha.
No, it's
Just
disgusting.
fantastic. Oh, it's great for the
disgusting.
stomach.
You know why it's good for you? You know why you like it, Lee? I'm going to tell you why you like it. All right. I'm going to tell you right now why you like it. Because you're trendy.
Oh my God.
You are Mr. Trendy. You
No.
always look good. You got the nice clothes. You're always looking dapper. Okay. Yeah. Here it comes. Here it comes, people. You don't believe me? Watch this. Here it comes. See?
That's right.
Look how good he looks. Look how good he looks.
Got to put my cowboy hat on.
Uh-huh. I'm
Mhm.
just saying. You're
Ah.
trendy.
This is not trendy.
You are trendy. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to admit to it or not, you are trendy.
Mm. Well, we try. You know, it's I guess it's part of the persona, right? Going out like with a cowboy hat on, you just become kind of what you dress like. You know what I mean?
All I'm saying is, I think you're West Coast, man. There are no cowboys on the West Coast. There are none.
No, you believe that, huh?
Yes, I do.
No, you go east. I was born in Seattle, but I was there briefly. We moved to Eastern Washington. We lived there for a long time.
Okay, Eastern Washington, I'll give you.
Mhm.
Okay, I will totally give you that.
Mhm.
It's like when I moved up here and started seeing people wearing cowboy boots, belt buckles the size of hubcaps,
I
and
got that too.
cowboy hats
Mhm.
with Wrangler plaid shirts.
Mhm.
I had no idea, dude. I had no idea. Like I literally didn't know cowboys existed. And when you went to like a country bar or something and seeing everybody play the fake cowboy, I hated it. I did.
Yeah.
You only went there to look at the girls line dance.
Well, there's that. That's always good. There's a lot of Western bars around here in Washington where I'm at. But yeah, I lived in Eastern Washington for years. I had a horse, right? We
Your name Pepe?
oh gosh, I remember. I don't remember the horse's name to tell you the truth. I was young
I had
back
a
then, but
horse.
what a good time though when you were a kid, you know?
I had a horse and I never got to ride him because he hated me.
Hmm.
The one time I rode him, he bucked me off and I was like 7, 8 years old.
Yeah, that's about the age. But I never got bucked off. Did a bunch of trail riding. I loved that when I was young. Horse camp. Had some good times. Really good times. But that's where the stuff began for me, you know, is over in Eastern Washington.
Now, when we're talking Eastern Washington, are we talking like the Spokane area?
Winthrop.
Oh, Winthrop.
Yeah.
That's that little cowboy town. I've driven through there.
Oh yeah.
That is a beautiful town. I would vacation there.
Yeah.
I would totally the river running through.
The Methau. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
beautiful there. It's
Dude,
so amazing.
I didn't know you grew up there.
Well, I didn't not my whole childhood, but
No,
yeah,
but
a
I
good
didn't
port
know
of
you
it,
lived there,
portion of it.
though.
Mhm.
Winthrop is gorgeous on Highway 20.
Yep.
I know exactly where it is. I remember when we were going to Eric Cooper's conference, we took I thought it would be a shorter way to go
No way.
from um, my home down through the Okanagan and then across the state rather than cutting all the way, like doing the canyon and then all coming down. No, it took us about an extra 4 hours.
Yeah, you went down and then went through Twisp and
Yeah.
yeah.
All these
Yeah,
little towns
that's
that I
longer
only ever heard
longer.
of on the King 5 weather report.
I've gotten bit by a horse too. That doesn't feel good. Right on the thigh.
Yeah, that wouldn't feel good.
Got nipped.
Yep. But no, Winthrop was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely stunning.
The apple orchards there and just childhood is good. But that's where things started happening for me was there, and also in Omak, which is
I,
just over the mountain east.
yeah, you have to drive through there.
Yep.
Yeah, I know where that is. It's funny. The one thing when I noticed when we stopped in Winthrop to get some ice cream, because they got a nice ice cream store there right on the corner where you turn to continue on Highway 20.
Right.
But the one thing that I noticed in their stores, everything was Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, there's a lot
They're
of
big about Bigfoot there, man.
Mm-hmm. They should be big about ETs as well, but they're not.
The Lee Strauss story coming next on the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah. The Hallmark
Seriously, it
Channel.
is a Hallmark town. It is
Yeah, it is.
completely a Hallmark town.
You guys should look it up. It's actually pretty picturesque.
Oh, it literally, it's one of those golden gems you would never know about it unless you drive through it. And then
Yeah.
you're like, I want to come back here.
It's very small too, but it's nestled in the mountains and right before you go into the arid part of eastern Washington. It's just this little valley. It's incredible.
Yeah. I want to take that drive one day. Like
Mhm.
I want to take the fam down there.
Yeah.
Because I know Mrs. SOR would love to see that place.
Mhm.
So worth it.
Some of the greatest camping in there.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's a total motorhome drive. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Hmm.
You work tomorrow?
No, I got the weekend off, which is nice.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Yeah. Was gonna go hiking tomorrow, but I've got some things I wanna do around here that I've been neglecting because I have been working so much, so
In other words, you need clean underwear.
well, that's part of it.
Yep.
That's part
Yep.
of it.
I'm going to be like working tomorrow, and then I'm going to see my grandson.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
we were playing hockey today. Little
Yeah.
mini sticks. He took a couple of shots and he started doing this whiny soccer bullshit. Right. And I looked at him and I kind of snapped at him a little bit. Hey, this is hockey. Do you want grandpa to take you to the soccer field? No. Well, then act like a man. Okay.
Tell him you're gonna put bows on his shoes if he doesn't straighten up.
Right. Oh my God. Like, whose kid is this? Oh. Sometimes it's hard to be humble, Lee.
Ah, it's all good, brother. Hey, I'm gonna take off though. It's been good.
Hey, as they say in Merle land, it's been a slice.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah. By the way, quickly here for everybody before you go, Lee, we have set the times for our speakers at Caribou Con. It's going to be announced here on the website very, very soon. Extra small Lee Strauss will be speaking. Hold on. Let me pull it up here. I got it here. Hold on. Hold on. I got it here. Hold on. Hold on. I got it right here. Right here. Extra small Lee Strauss. I'll give you the lineup here. I think I did good at this, Lee. So opening the conference on Friday, 5:30 p.m. B. Arthur from the Paranormal Podcast, the Golden Beam, Brent Thomas. I follow him, which will be hard because Brent's an incredible speaker. But I follow him. And then it's the ghost tour and the sky watch. You get your choice. If you're a VIP, you get your choice. And it's not like, would you like fries with that? Then you sit at the drive-through window for the next hour and a half debating whether you want to supersize your fries. Okay, that's not the way it works here. All right, but that's Friday of the event. Then on Saturday, and by the way, Lee will be running the Skywatch. I didn't say Siri. Can you hang up, please? Thank you. Siri thought she was important there for a second. Then on Saturday, our Keith Andrews will kick things off at 9:30 in the morning. Yeah, he will. And then from there, one second. From there, Jacob Rice will talk some paranormal after that. After lunch, Courtney Marcassani, Merle, and Grant Cameron. Then we're going to have a VIP dinner with the guests and our VIPs, or whoever bought VIP tickets. 8 o'clock, ghost tour, Skywatch, or if the weather is permitting, we are going to do a Sasquatch tour. Only 10 people. Then on the Sunday, extra small Lee Strauss will kick things off at 9:30 in the morning, followed by Paisley Town, numerologist. Samantha Mowat after lunch, followed by Christian McLeod, Cryptid Gee, and then the ladies from Beyond the Haunting television show. That's a hell of an event. Hell of an event.
Yes, sir, it is. Yes, sir, it is.
Mm-hmm. So you got the potential to hang out with Lee 2 nights and 1 morning.
There you go. Get
There
it while
you
you
go.
can.
That's awesome.
We'll be talking about human to ET communication.
I'm going to just be honest with you. If I can talk selfishly here for a second.
Sure.
I really want you to tell the Sasquatch Mount Hood story.
Mount Adams?
Or Mount Adams.
Adams. Yeah. Mount
Adams story. You got to throw that in for me because that's absolutely amazing.
Okay. We can, I should say. I can do that. I can bring, because I've got the evidence, so. Yes, sir.
All right, buddy. You have a good night because I'm going to get going here too. Because some of us have to work in the morning. We don't get these weekend off things that you do. Have a great night, budty. Thank you to our super chatters tonight. A pair from T-Bone, Jules, Morvant, Shogun, Dutch Hank, Area 54, and Deborah Rooney. Appreciate it. We will see you all on Monday. My guest will be G.O. Turner, filming UFOs. We like G.O. around here. He's good people. Good people. So we will see you then. Thank you. Don't forget you can listen to us and download the podcast for free. Tell a friend. Have a great weekend, buddy. You're all my buddies. Yeah, you are. Take care.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.